All right, we're gonna be back with another edition of ATL Three Style Podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Leo G, man, and over to the south side, over to my right, is my boy Banks. What's going on?
How you doing, Leo? How you doing? How you doing out there, internet world? People.
Man, we holding it down, man. As you can see, we -1, man. Our boy Derrick, man, he out here. I don't know what he's doing. He doing some big things here, man. He was on the south side last week, Banks. We were trying to coordinate that all together, but it didn't materialize. You know, I know you had some stuff going on, man, but we'll try to get all in the same room to give y'all a podcast one of these days, man. That's what we've been trying to do. But Derrick came down to the south side, man, had an event going on, man, and hung out with him for a little bit on last week, so it was pretty cool. Man, Banks, before we get too far off into the show, man, you know how we got to always do it, man. It's the holiday season. I don't know if y'all can get these orders in fast enough to get over to our boy over there at Eastlands Woodworking, but let everybody know what's up, Banks.
Yeah, you got my man on here on the east side, Eastland Woodworking Company. Anything like special made, like ashtrays or coasters or plaques or special thing that's custom to you, hit my boy Phil. Hit that QR code. This is an example. You can get something custom made with your favorite team or your initial or whatever you want pretty much on that. Yep, there's another example. Um, Hit that QR code and let them know, or let him know that we sent you, and get all these, man. All these you know what, Leo, I gotta tell you, brother, I got to get back on my game with this. I need more. It's just like I keep showing the same coaster, but I need some stuff to hang on my wall down here. You know, I just
Yeah, man, you
I'm
sleeping.
behind.
You slipping, bro. You
I'm
slipping. Hit up,
I'm
hit up our boy, man, Phil over there at Eastlands, man. He does good work. I don't know if you can get that in before Christmas, as it's right around the corner as we record this show. Um, so you know, I don't know if you can get the orders in. Maybe you can get them in before the new year, man. So you'll hit him up, hit that QR code. Definitely try to hit him up. I got some orders that I have put in as well. Hopefully they'll be here before. Well, I know mine to be in before the holidays because I have already hit him up. Banks got a lot to try to get into this show tonight, man. We'll talk a little bit about Georgia. We'll talk a little bit about the Falcons here. Got a lot of stuff going on here, man. But first and foremost, man, just before we start to get off into the meat of the show, man, want to talk a little bit about Georgia high school football as we are wrapping up the season down there at Mercedes-Benz. A lot of championship games going on. I don't know if you got a chance to take a look at any of them, but specifically last night, man, I want to give a shout out to the South. Give a shout out to the South side, man, as the Creekside Seminoles, man, took on Benedictine out of Savannah, and they were successful in winning their second state championship over there in Fairburn, man. So shout out to the Creekside Seminoles of Fairburn, Georgia, for winning the Georgia State Championship. I think that's number 2 for them, man. It was a pretty good game, man. It's a pretty decent team over there, Banks. Love watching high school football, especially around this time of year, right?
Oh, absolutely, man. You know, when it comes to state championships, man, you got the best of the state got to offer, and they come out on one field, a neutral site in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and duke it out. Like I said, shout out to Creekside, 15-0, perfect season. They beat my school, so I mean, nothing. You know, ain't no nothing but respect. Tip of the cap for that team over there. I think there's another school. I don't know if they played already. It's Carrollton and Beaufort. That should be another big game that the state is looking forward to.
Well, that's not just a big state game. I didn't mean to cut you off there, Banks. That is being dubbed the national championship, man, between the number one ranked Carrollton Trojans and the number 5 ranked Beaufort Wolves. This is being dubbed the national championship. That's why I tell people Georgia football is different, man. I mean, you people talk about California, Texas, and Florida. Let me tell you something. Per capita, I think Georgia produces the best football players in the nation, hands down. No disrespect to Louisiana, man. I see y'all over there. No disrespect to Mississippi and all them southern schools, man. But let me tell you something. I mean, southern states, but let me tell you something, man. Georgia, we just different when it comes to high school football here, brother. We just different.
Absolutely, brother. I mean, you got, further south you go, the more you have to take the day off to see these big time schools. I know down in Lowndes County, when they Valdosta play and Lowndes play, the whole city shuts down. It's like everyone and their dog is at that stadium. If you miss it, that's shame on you. But like I said, it's not just down south. I mean, it's all over Georgia. Even when we was coming up, Leo, like big time schools played each other, you had to be there. It was something about it. Friday night lights, it's different down in these parts.
I mean, definitely different here in the state of Georgia. I tell people all the time, man. I said you can look at this state, you can look at the football players that it's produced. If you ever been down to Mercedes-Benz, man, they have a big wall down there to show you basically all of some of the elite football players that came out of this state, man, and just did their thing, man. I'm talking about Banks. They going all the way back to like the 40s. You know what I'm saying? Guys that played, in college and also in the NFL as well, man. So like I said, Georgia high school football is just built different. Like I said, number one, Carrollton is going to face off against. I'm not for sure if that's tonight. I know there's a couple other games tonight. It's so many different regions. I know we were coming along, Banks. We kind of up there in age, man. It wasn't but a couple of regions. Now they're like, 20A. You know what I'm saying? Something crazy like that. Yeah.
So,
Banks might be having a few technical difficulties over there, man. We'll try to continue to work with him here in a second. He was glitching out a little bit on me. Nah, you still muted. Well, Banks is muted here, man. We're gonna try to get him back here in just a second, man, to get into the meat of the show. Banks, can you hear me, brother?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Got you now, man. We got you now, loud and clear.
Yeah, I was just saying, when we were coming up, it was only 4 regions. Now I think it's 7, I believe. 7A. 7, and it was 4 is the most I can think of. When I graduated, it went up to 5. So take that for what you will.
Yeah, man. A lot of schools, a lot of people. I mean, Georgia, we full, man. So y'all, we got a lot more people here in this state, a lot more schools than it was, obviously, like you said, when we were coming along here, man. Banks, also, man, in some headlines here in sports as well. We talked about it on the last podcast. World Cup will be here 2026 as we close out 2025. World Cup is going to be here in just a few minutes, Banks. Just a few minutes, brother, man. Atlanta obviously hosting a game. They had the World Cup draw that was on TV not too long ago. Now we know some of the nations that will be coming to this great city. Spain listed to come here. I want to say Morocco, another great team. And the nation that I'm most excited about to see here coming to Atlanta, Banks, is I don't know if you know anything about them, but Cape Verde, a nation off the coast of Africa, an African nation, will be here. Cape Verde will be playing, I think. And if I'm not mistaken, this might be their first World Cup, man. And I think we have a few other teams. If I'm not mistaken, I have to go back and look at it. But I think South Africa is another team that will be obviously playing here in group play. So it's going to be pretty exciting, Banks. But I'm very excited to see Cape Verde make it here. And who knows, man, maybe if somebody give me, some money or I hit the lottery, I can go down there and check one of these games out at Mercedes-Benz, or it's going to be dubbed the Atlanta Stadium, because I don't think any sponsorships are allowed during the World Cup. So it'll be Atlanta Stadium down there, man. So fun times, Banks. I don't know if you got a chance to see that draw.
I didn't see on any. It's brand new to me.
Okay, man, absolutely, man. So we're gonna keep you guys posted, man. Like I said, on World Cup coming here, like I said, 2026 North America as we do this, man. Banks, let's get a little bit into the Falcons, man, and then we'll cross on over and talk about college football playoffs here in just a second, man. Falcons, since we've last talked, they mustered up a win on a Thursday night down in Tampa. They were able to beat the Bucs 29-28. And before we talk about the actual game and the stats, this was the biggest thing I want to talk to you about, Banks, that kind of hit the internet by storm. And I just want to, because I felt like this was just crazy to me, man. I have to talk about it. I have to get it out. This is what we do as fans. So after the win, Falcons on a walk-off field goal, by the way, Zane Gonzalez, shout out to Zane Gonzalez, 29-28 as they beat the Bucs on Thursday night. The funny part about this was with Banks, the Buccaneers were sick. Not only was their fans sick, but their team was sick, man. And there was a sense of, did we just lose to the Falcons? Did we just lose to the Falcons? That's how they felt. I don't know if they overlooked the Falcons. I don't know if they felt like this team was not worthy to even play on their turf down there in Tampa, man. But everybody from their coaches to their most prominent players like Baker and Mike Evans felt the sense of, we should not have lost to this team. Banks, this is NFL, man. We love beating rivals. We do. Obviously, our season is pretty much over at this point, but beating Tampa and pretty much now putting their playoff hopes in limbo was pretty much, I guess you could call it a moral victory for us. I don't know, man, but they acted as if we didn't even deserve to be playing them, and there was no way we should have beat them, I should say.
I mean, oh well. I mean, that's what you do when you play with your food. You had an opportunity to put the Falcons away, and you didn't do it. It was 3rd and 28. You supposed to get off the field in, and you didn't. I know that feeling. I know being on the other side of that, being 3rd and long or 4th and long to win the game, and you can't do it. Lord knows I've seen the Falcons succumb to that. So yes, so if you don't like it, just do what you're supposed to do and get off the field. For the meantime, I have nothing, no sympathy for you. It is what it is. Take the L, move on.
Man, like I said, anytime we get to beat a division rival, man, I'm okay with that. Banks, going back to what you just said, the 3rd and 28, that kind of was a pivotal point in the game. We always talk about the Falcons and how they end up in these situations more often than none, right? We don't really get a chance to see other teams get put in these situations because I guess we're so caught up in watching our own team with the Falcons. I watch a lot of NFL games, but I don't really I guess the emphasis and me paying attention to some of the mishaps that happen with other NFL teams don't come up as much. But we talk all the time about the Falcons getting into these situations, like you said, Banks, a 3rd and 19, just get off the field and we can win the game, or 4th down and 20, and you'll see a quarterback that runs a 5.8 get 18 of that or 19 of that to put them in field goal range. Just your thoughts on seeing another team this actually happens to, because we get into this thing like it only happens to the Falcons, right? We get into this thing like this stuff only happens to the Falcons, but witnessing it happen to another team, I mean, this just shows you the ebbs and flows of the NFL. This does not. There are other teams that this happens to, and obviously, man, Tampa paid the price for letting it happen to them, right?
Well, it happens to other teams, truly. I think it seemed like it happens to us more than not. I mean, I've seen that with the reaction to what Tampa, going through that, and it seemed like that was not common for them. That's why they reacted the way they did. You know, I can count on one hand how many times that happened to us. Between this year and last year. And I think it's almost I'm not gonna say a norm, but I just want to say it's something that needs to be changed. You know, for the Falcons standpoint, when you have a pivotal point of the game where you have to get off the field, not just 3rd and long or 4th and long. I'm talking about just get to make a play to get off the field or to ice the game, if you will. We rarely get to those points in a Falcons game to we can see that. We always have to walk off the field with a last minute field goal or get a touchdown late or something, or maybe one time like we played Buffalo, actually went out just downright just win. But like I said, that's rare. So I mean, it's like when you see other teams go through it and they have this big conniption about it. I mean, I guess maybe it's because like I said, they're not used to that. I don't know. I have a different feel on it. I feel like I've seen it too much that I would like to as a fan. So I mean, I guess it's different on both sides of the coin.
Yeah, man. Like I said, man, I think it happens more often than none to other teams. We see it happen, like I said, because our relationship with our team is so much, and we get tired and frustrated of it because it seems like that's the running narrative with this team, right? At least over the last 10 years or so, is where we've been so close, but yet so far with certain pivotal plays. So it's almost like you said, the sense of getting that mad, like I guess Tampa fans were and their team were, is kind of senseless to us because we're numb to it at a certain degree. I just felt like it was a level of disrespect to even think or to even fathom that, what I'm saying, this was a game that was just sure in hand. I mean, this is the NFL. I mean, obviously the Falcons were going to come out to win. I mean, jobs were at stake. There are ramifications as to what's going to happen next season. So these guys are going to go out and play. Nobody is going to actually lay down unless the team is just completely dysfunctional. Now, have we saw the Falcons play just haphazardly and just let some games go? Absolutely. And that's inexcusable. But I feel like, as we close out the season, there's a lot going to be at stake. Because let's be real, Banks, man, this is now at the point of the season where you're playing for a job. So if you're not going to the playoffs, the rest of the 20 some odd teams that are not going to make the playoffs, Banks, these men, they're going to be playing for a job at this point. So they don't care, if they're playing somebody that's, going to the playoffs. They're still trying to win. They're still trying to perform, and they're still going to go out and do their thing, man. Hey, so Banks, a couple of key points I want to talk to you about. First key point I want to talk to you about, obviously, is your buddy, your pal, the unicorn. There was a unicorn sighting down in Tampa, man. Let's talk about it, man. 11 receptions for 166 yards and 3 TDs. I guess this is what we have been expecting all 5 years that Kyle Pitts has been here. We expected to see these games a lot, not just a rarity. We've expected to see these games a lot. We just haven't seen a lot of them. But he did show up against Tampa, was the X factor in us winning, like I said, with 3 TDs. And it looked convincingly, Banks, for whatever it's worth. He looked very dominant. It wasn't anything fluky about it. He went out there and he did his thing. Obviously, like you said, we have not seen him do this a lot. Your thoughts, Banks, on Pitts obviously having the game down there in Tampa and putting us over to actually get this win, man?
It's something about him playing Tampa. I mean, I don't know what it is. He's bitten a thorn in Tampa's side. I mean, the last game they played last year in Tampa, he went off in that game, if you remember. So I mean, I'm not I'm not going to sit there and I mean, I guess I give him a little golf clap for that, I guess. But I mean, it's what you gonna do after that? I mean, what you gonna do against Arizona? What you gonna do against LA? If you come out there and you go, you know, 6 receptions for 14 yards, I mean, it's all down the drain for me. I mean, I'm over the fact of what he is. I think he's trying to play for whatever's left. Try to showcase himself for other teams in the league. Okay, so be it. But I mean, I've been over him for a long time ago. So I mean, whatever he does from here on out, kudos to him. I mean, it doesn't move the needle for me.
Let me ask you this though, Banks, because we talked about this before. Like I said, there's no denying his size and his athleticism, and I think that there's a lot of potential. 5 years of that though is quite a long look to see where we can get this, and to get just these small sample sizes has been very, very frustrating to Falcons fans. But let me ask you this, and we've talked about this, and I think you made your point on it. Is it so much that Kyle Pitts hasn't lived up to the expectations of the fact that he was drafted so high with the Falcons, or or is this just an attack on Kyle Pitts and what he should be doing? Because let's be real, we were all kind of shocked and in awe when they did take him this high. So is your beef or your gripe more of the expectation that was put on him by getting drafted? Because he didn't have to get drafted that high. He didn't. This was the organization that pulled the trigger on what they called a generational talent, and it just has not panned out as we thought it was. I don't think it's so much Kyle Pitts. You know what I'm saying? Kyle Pitts was like, you know what? I got drafted. I'm going to go ahead and play and do the best that I can. Obviously, I don't think that the expectation matched where the Falcons took him, right?
Absolutely, and that is what the gripe is with me. I sit there, I say it to him, I'm blue in the face. You don't ever draft a tight end in that high, no matter what he is. He could be a Brock Bowers, he could be, a Shannon Sharp. You just don't pick a tight end at 4. I mean, period. I don't give a flip if he was a unicorn, and he actually was a unicorn. Who cares? At this point, I think you're right. It's not his fault that he got drafted that high. But at the same time, you still were a first round pick. You was going to be a first round pick, no matter where you were going to be drafted at, and you still not performing to that level. So I don't know. I mean, people want to give him grace, say, because we're not targeting him, and then when he gets target, he's still not getting, the production, with his size on the field compared to the guy that is defending him. It doesn't make any sense for you to still not to produce. And I've never seen so many passes thrown his way, and it's dropped because it's been defended by one person. And for your size, one person can just lock you down. And not to mention, not even the same size and the same height as you tower over these guys, and you still cannot produce. And that's my gripe with him. Like, you're too big to be you don't utilize your body frame to get the production that is called for. You know, do you supposed to be a tight end that supposed to just be hitting stride. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if that's the case, then I mean, maybe you need to go somewhere else and find that offense that will put you in that situation. Because obviously, we drafted you to be something else. I guess I don't know. But for what the organization has done to blow smoke up our butts as fans, they did a good job of that part. I don't
I
see
mean,
it. I'm not seeing the what he's supposed to be.
I mean, well, he showed you what he was supposed to be on Thursday night. Obviously, like I alluded to, he has not done that as much as we would like for him to. So, I mean, hey, who knows? I mean, we'll talk about a few other things here. The word around the campfire is that there are possibly implications that, hey, they might let him walk and just go into free agency, or there could be a possibility where they utilize the franchise tag to see what else they could get out of him for one more year. I mean, obviously, you would be very conflicted in that. I mean, it would be no harm, no foul at that point if they franchise tagged him, but at the same time, it's like, are we going to let bygones be? Just let him walk. So we'll see. It's off season's coming up. If he continues to perform this way, that way that he performed on Thursday night, the last 3 games, then I don't know. That'd be something that the organization will have to take a look at and see if they can actually get another year of use out of him before they just let it go. I mean, obviously there are other people that they want to pay money to keep. So we'll have to see how it works out. So Banks, want to talk to you a little bit about something else, man, and a pick that I feel like, was well worth it. Our rookie James Pierce Jr., number 27, out there doing his thing, man. Obviously, we do not have a first-round pick next year, but listen, at this point in the season, and we're well through the season, we're 3 games away from ending this thing, man. I think it's safe to say, man, that was a home run pick. I am going to go ahead and say that was a home run pick. Yeah, we just got our pick early. That was the one bright spot, I think, between him and Jalen Walker that we were able to do well. And I think that if Jalen Walker has done a lot of different things that hadn't shown up on the stat sheet, and we've talked about that in previous podcasts, but I think that James Pierce has we've gotten the most out of him, and he has shown why the Falcons went back up into the first round to get him, man. And let me tell you something, this kid is just scratching the surface. And I say kid, man, because he hadn't really hit his grown man status yet, man. This is his first year, and he has been out there balling. Give him like another 2 or 3 years, man, and this dude will probably be, if not one of the top premier pass rushers in this league, Banks. I am over the moon with this James Pierce Jr. kid, man.
Absolutely, man. Shout out to number 27, yo. I mean, I feel like that's the only bright spot that I can really hang my hat on for this season, to sit there and say, yes, we traded our first round pick to the LA Rams, but we got us a stud for years to come. I don't think, I think if I'm not mistaken, he's 8 sacks now. If I'm not mistaken, that's way past my.
He has 1 sack in the last 6 games.
Well, we'll see again, but I mean, total wise, he's at 8, I believe. And that's way more than I thought he would produce as a rookie. You said it best, he's not even into his grown man status yet. And he's coming off his rookie year doing stuff like this. Look out, folks. You know what I'm saying? He's going to get better. He's going to get another off season under his belt. He's going to learn more. And the more he learns, the better he's going to become. Not to slight, Jalen Walker. Jalen Walker's been doing some good things. Number 11 out there, shout out to you. You've been doing some things for teams to pay attention to you. And that's all we ask for. Someone to someone to game plan for. And I think that's what he's becoming. The other players on that defensive line has 8 because of him. Shout out Brandon Dorless, who's been eating because of Walker. I think his last name London, Laquel London has been eating because of him. Listen, I think I can really go to sleep happy knowing that my defense is trending in the right direction. Thank God. Like, I can really, really, really appreciate that. When the injuries, with Bowman Jr. comes back, hopefully he'll right on up. He get right back in that thing. And then, not to mention, we got free agency coming up, and then we got a draft. We may add to it. So, good things for the defense. Great things for the defense.
Absolutely, man. I am impressed with what the defense has been able to accomplish. We've said it time and time again that, defense, and I'm still old school believer in that defense wins championships, man. Obviously, you have to have that that defense. And you have to be able to put the quarterback on the ground in this league, and that was proven this year. Obviously, we didn't get some of the results in the win column that we would like, but it's no fault of the defense showing up in certain games and actually doing their thing, man. So we just got to figure out a way to put this all together. We're going to close this thing out here. A couple of things here, Banks. Obviously, quarterback play, I want to reserve that. We'll talk about that toward the end of the season, man, because I think that is a big topic that we need to discuss in this totality with Kirk Cousins, the offense, and actually, Michael Penix. That's a big conversation that needs to be had that I think we need to devote for one full podcast, man, because there's a lot to dissect when we start talking about quarterback play in this offense and Zach Robinson. Because I don't know how you feel about it, Banks, but just to touch on it, man, I think that there's a night and day difference between watching Kirk Cousins play and what we saw out of Michael Penix, and to figure out the correlation between why we see some things that have been successful with Kirk and why we didn't see a lot of things that were successful with Mike. I mean, we know, obviously, the elephant in the room is the under center pistol conversation that's been had. And like I said, we'll get a chance to do a deeper dive in that, I think, on the podcast once we reach the end of the season. But just briefly, Banks, if you want to talk about how the offense looks with Kirk in there, having more variety and having more ability than we saw when Michael Penix was actually starting.
I mean, it's not really a secret with a rookie. And in my eyes, he hasn't even completed 17 games yet. Okay, that's completely what 17 games is a year. He hasn't even done that, and he had to come in hitting the ground running, which is kind of not fair to this man, this kid. He had to come in straight from college. He had to learn, I guess, a little bit, on watching Kurt last season, and then he got thrown in there with the last 3 games, and then this season it was a lot for him, and we were still trying to holler playoffs, and get us over the hump, and this kid was still learning. He was trying to feel the speed of the game. He was still trying to, you know, figure out, his receivers, you know, but people don't want to hear it, but it's the truth. I mean, we have a coach who don't play his players in preseason, so they have to do this week one. They have to learn this on the job training, and when it doesn't work out, then people want to throw them to the wolves. I don't think it's fair. I think, Michael Penix still got something to show, I believe. It's going to just take some time, and I think we fans got to be patient. What Kirk Cousin brings, we have seen a difference between last year, he was injured, to this year. I don't know the relationship between him and Zach Robinson. One minute they at each other's throats, and the next minute it look like it's clicking. So I don't know. I mean, I have to, I guess, see the whole thing, through, at the end of the season, then I'll make a fine judgment. But until then, I mean, it's like I have no clue. I don't know.
Yeah, man. I mean, I got my theories on that, Banks. I really do. I have some theories, and I'll be glad to share them at the end of the season, because I think that there's some. So I'm gonna just put it out here, man. So y'all got to stay tuned, man. I think that there's something there. There is something glaring going on. I think that there is an issue going on, and it's going to have to be addressed. But we'll get more into that at the end of the season. But yeah, I think there's a lot to dissect, and we'll talk about it. All right, Banks, man. Let's close this thing out, man. We'll talk a little bit about the college football playoffs, man. Falcons, 3 more games left here. Obviously, can they win out? And what do you want to see out of these last 3 games? Obviously, the last game of the season, I want to see a W. But what else are you looking for the last 3 games of the season, man, as the Falcons close this thing on out, man?
Progression. To see, especially the defense. I wanted to see the defense kind of ended on a high note. Um, I think the offense is a work in progress. I think the ship has sailed on trying to save that offense. I think the offense needed a kind of a tweaker here and a tweak there, but it's going to take an off season to do it. I mean, keep your head above water, I guess, at this point. You got 3 games left. Try your best, try to put some score, points on the board. But as for the defense, I'm looking for, end it on a great note. You know what I'm saying? Keep the sacks coming, keep the big plays coming, get going, something to build on to next season, and that could only be nothing but excitement for, for the defense. Ulbrich has done wonders for this defense. I don't know what he's done. He's got this magic wand he got. I don't know what it is, but whatever you're doing, sir, keep doing it. I haven't seen this defense play like this in years. Like, so I'm enjoying every moment of it. I can know that possibility, in certain games, not even certain games, all the games, the defense have put the offense to win the game. To basically, we have not broke our backs. We're in this game still. Maybe exceptions of a couple of games, but again, I think that was still to what the offense wasn't doing. So ended on a high note. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, the offense is a work. I'm not expecting a lot from them, but the defense just ended on a high note.
Man, absolutely, man. We want to see this thing end on a high note, man. And definitely, like I said, last game of the season, beat the Mainz for real. That's all I'm at this point. That's what I'm trying to. That's what I'm trying to see. You know what I'm saying? Beat them. If we gonna suck, y'all gonna suck just as bad. So let's sweep them, close this thing out, man. And I think we can look at everything moving forward, and we'll talk about that at a later date as the state of the franchise at the end of the season. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that at a later date once the season is over. So look, Banks, let's talk a little bit about Georgia, man. College football playoffs before we close this podcast out. UGA, man, SEC championship. We didn't get a chance to talk about that. We were missing for a minute here, but Georgia, man, rematch Alabama in Mercedes-Benz. Obviously, there was a lot of hype around that, man. Let me tell you something, man. I'm gonna get a little emotional probably talking about this, man. But shout out Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs, man, winning the SEC championship, man, 28-7 over Alabama in dominating fashion. This team, man, gets it. This team gets it. Kirby gets it. They understand what it is and what's at stake. They never disappoint. At least they haven't. They brought home 2 national championships in the decade that Kirby has been coaching there, and they continue to be one of the elite teams in the country. Banks, let me tell you something, man. I was literally I'm going to just say I was embarrassed when we lost to Alabama in Athens. I felt like, we were the better team. And I felt like, we let that one get away. And I think that they knew that, and they felt if they had an opportunity to resolve that, which they were able to in Mercedes-Benz and SEC championship, that they were going to let Alabama know that this is not the same team. This is not the same situation. And we're going to show you who we are. And we showed them who we were. This was a team that was on a mission. You could have brought back the Alabama All-Stars, and I think Georgia would have ran through them like a hot knife through butter, man. Absolutely enjoyed Georgia destroying Alabama. The physicality and the just will to want to beat Alabama into submission. And that's what they did, Banks, man. I can't get enough of what Georgia does in these situations where they need to actually go out there and show people who they are, right?
Listen, like I was watching Georgia Bulldogs, like a little mini movie, recapping the previous week. The whole tagline in that locker room was enough is enough. Enough is enough. And that was they kept repeating that over and over again. And the whole team was chimed in. Kirby Smart basically got them guys focused and say, listen, this is what's at stake here. You know what I'm saying? You have a playoff bye week that's on the board for you to have. And all you got to do is beat these guys over here. Beat these guys that feel like they come in here and take your lunch money every chance they get. And it was echoing of enough is enough. And they went out there and put BTA on Alabama Crimson Tide. And if you don't know what BTA is, belt to ass. So, and that's all you kept seeing is people clapping them belts, letting them know that, we're coming for you, and shout out to the Georgia as a whole for playing some great football this time of year. Playing it ever since the Ole Miss game, you came out there and you just start beating behinds and taking names. You went into the SEC championship and you showed dominance, and this is a perfect time for this team to be playing the way they are, basically waiting on the winner between Ole Miss and Tulane. So New Year's Day, we crank it back up again, Leo, and a road trying to get to that natty again.
Man, absolutely, man. The road to the Natty, man, is going to crank up, man. With Georgia, man, well deserved bye for them to regroup. I think that this team will do well from the bye. I know a lot of people, there was a whole conversation to be had about, do you need to buy? Do you want to buy? Do you want to continue to go? I mean, I think we all talk about that in all kind of playoff atmospheres in different sports. Do you lose your mojo? Do you lose momentum? But I think that Georgia's a team that can handle this, and I think that Kirby and his staff will prepare these guys, get the guys rested, get these guys game planned up. I do think I'm not a betting man, Banks, but I think I know who we're going to face in the Sugar Bowl on New Year's Day. So, I mean, I'm like I said, I'm not, hey, like I said, Ole Miss, Tulane. I'm not trying to downplay Tulane, but, hey, I think they did play this season, and, maybe by not lose, I don't even remember what the score was, but I don't think that, I don't think Tulane is going to be Ole Miss. So I do look at a matchup between Ole Miss and Georgia in the Sugar Bowl here coming up here. Other teams in the college football playoffs, obviously Alabama, they did make it. They're going to play Friday night against Oklahoma. Also, you got Miami and Texas A&M, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And one of the fun, I don't want to say it's funny, but you got James Madison. Shout out James Madison. Y'all made the playoffs. Y'all are in. Y'all taking on Oregon. Y'all got to go clean across the country from, I think, Virginia all the way over to Oregon to play them in the first round of the college football playoffs. Banks, your take on the first round of the college football playoffs, and then we'll talk about the other teams with bias in just a second before we close this thing out.
Well, I mean, everyone, I feel like, with exceptions of one team, I feel like deserve to be there. But I mean, that's just another discussion, another topic for another day. But you got the teams lined up, they ready to go. Like you said, James Madison got to go all across the country. I think at this point, I think they just happen to be there. They about to play Oregon. Let's see what happens. You just never know sometimes. Um, this is what the playoff committee wanted. This is what they want. They want all eyes on the first round. They don't want everyone to tune out and then watch the second round, because that's when the real matchups. Yeah, they want the first rounds to be just as big as the second. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we can't just sit there and just call it out, and think that's this, it's going, business as usual. Let's see what happens with Tulane and Ole Miss. Let's see what happens with Alabama and Oklahoma. Let's see what happens with Miami and Texas A&M. You just never know. You just never know.
Absolutely, man. You never know. We'll see what happens, man. I think I have an idea, but like you said, Banks, you never know, man. This day it's like this for a reason. So let's talk about the other teams that made it to actually have the buys. I'm not even gonna say it's shocking, Banks, because at this point, man, I feel like they deserve to be where they are. Indiana is the number one team in the nation, and that's for a good reason. They went undefeated and they were able to win the Big Ten championship against Ohio State, who everybody thought that was going to be just unstoppable. Indiana was able to beat Ohio State in the Big Ten championship, so they're number one. Also, the other teams with buys, you got Ohio State and Texas Tech, if I'm not mistaken, to round out the other teams with buys. So the four teams with buys: Indiana, Ohio State, Texas Tech, and Georgia. Ohio State will be waiting on the winner of Miami and Texas A&M. Texas Tech are going to be waiting the winner of James Madison and Oregon, and Indiana will be waiting on the winner of Alabama and Oklahoma. So we got a lot to digest. College football playoff weekend coming up here, man. So it looks like it's going to be exciting. I'm ready to see how this thing all works out, man. I'll be locked in this weekend and ready to see some games here. One notable team that I will talk about here before we close this thing out, Banks, that I feel like was just, it's real petty, man. Notre Dame. Shout out Notre Dame and the Crying Irish of South Bend, Indiana, man. They did not make the college football playoffs. We talk about this every year, Banks. It's going to be hit or miss for them based upon the fact that they are not in a division, which they do not want to do. And we know the reasons behind that. It's either you're going to stack your schedule against top 10. You're going to play a top 10 team the whole schedule. You know what I'm saying? Take the Navies, take the North Illinoises, take the Southwest Arkansas off your schedule and play big boy games the whole season and hope you can run the table or maybe drop one to a top 10 team and you can get in there. But this is going to continue to happen to them. They opted not to even play in a bowl game. They took their ball and went home and said, you know what? We didn't get into the college football playoffs. We are Notre Dame. We deserve to be here. We deserve a seat at the table. That's how I felt. They just really felt like the elitists and like, oh, how dare y'all not put us in here? We're looking at James Madison and Tulane. We know we better than them. We didn't get in. We're not doing anything. Goodbye. I just felt like that was some BS. But that's just my own personal opinion. And listen, I have my own personal opinions, people. I know, some people may not agree with what I'm saying, but hey, this notion that Notre Dame deserved to be at the table, Banks, is hilarious to me, right?
Well, I got a different opinion. I think Notre Dame deserves to be there. I don't think Alabama deserved to get it. They had 3 losses. You lost to Florida State. You lost to Oklahoma, and you lost to Georgia in the SEC championship. I don't know any other team. If you take the word Alabama off their name and put another team and have 3 losses, that they make the championship. I mean, the playoff, and prove me wrong. Notre Dame got 2 losses. Call it what you want. They haven't played in the conference in forever. So why is it a big deal now? So listen, they did what they did. I think Notre Dame should have been there instead of Bama. But what do you do? My thing is, this is a whole. I still think it still needs to be tweaked. The college playoff committee, they do a lot of stuff what they want to do, in my opinion, and then they try to justify it. That's the funny part about it. They justify it, trying to make it seem like it's the only way. It's the only way. I guarantee you, if Georgia had 33 losses, we would not be talking about a playoff spot. So, it is what it is, but it's a whole different conversation. It's for another day. So, yeah.
It is what it is, man. We're gonna watch college football, the playoffs here, and then we'll come back next week, man, and we'll talk about the matchups that we'll see following this weekend's matchup, man. Before we close this thing out, man, I want to shout out to the young men of the Naval Academy and the Army Academy, the cadets and the midshipmen. They took on each other. Banks, I can't stress this enough, man. I will always watch that game. It is one of the games that I feel like, man, it's the most underrated game. Shout out to my own boy JB3. It's one of the most underrated games, I feel like, in my opinion, in college football, man. It's one of the, if not the biggest rivalry in college football, man. These men go to these schools. They understand what it means to go to these schools. And when they play this game, man, it doesn't disappoint, in my opinion. They're not the 5-star athletes. They don't run the pro-style offenses, man. But let me tell you something, Banks. I watched this game from start to end. These kids, when they played Army, Navy play, they play. They're hitting. It's physical. It was trash talk, man. And then after the game, these young men go to the middle of the field. They shake hands, and they understand what they're going to do. A lot of them, after they graduate and move on from West Point and Annapolis, man. So shout out to that Army-Navy game, man. I don't know if you got a chance to look at it or not, Banks. So I don't know if you feel the same way I feel about it, man. But it, to me, is one of the crown jewels of college football, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's one of those things. That's why they have it on a standalone week. Army Navy has always been that way at the end of the season. If people who sit there that has ties to the military will always tune in. I caught it a couple of years before. Fairly enjoyed it. I fairly enjoyed the rivalry. To people understand what it means to for those teams to beat each other. And then someone was like, and it's asked, then why can't they have another, a particular week during the season and add Air Force in there? I said it doesn't have the same moxie. I don't think it'll have the same kick, if you have a Navy versus Air Force or Army versus Air Force. Unlike, Army versus Navy, that's a whole nother bag of potatoes there, and it's a whole pomp and circumstance before the game, and it's that's, like I said, that's why it stands alone, at the very last, game of the year.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Shout out Army Navy, man. Look, Banks, we're at the end of the program, man. It's been another great podcast. Obviously, Banks, man. Let everybody know where they can find you at, man, before we run into this next show, man.
You can find me at Antoine Jarrell Banks on Facebook or Baby Banks 80 on Instagram.
That's right, man. Follow ATL3 Style Podcast, man, on all streaming platforms, man. We out there on YouTube. We out there on Facebook. We out there on Instagram. Everywhere, man. Follow, like, and subscribe, man. Hit us up. Let us know what you want to what you want to hear us talk about, man. If you want to come on the show, man, talk some sports, man, we'll be glad to have you. So hit us up, man. We don't mind, man. Also, shout out to our boy Derek O, who MIA, but he'll be back hopefully next week to give his perspective on sports in general, especially being fans of Atlanta sports, man. Also, shout out Eastland's Woodworking Company. We'll put the QR code back up for him. Hit him up, man. Get you some gifts, man, for the holiday season. Just trinkets or whatever that you need for your man cave, man. He'll be glad to hook you up, man. So listen, Banks, this has been another edition of the ATL 3-Style Podcast, and we'll definitely be back hopefully next week to talk more ATL and just sports in general. All right.